everybody, and welcome to another Binary Ninja live stream. Have some fun stuff happening. Today, you'll notice I'm in a different spot. This is actually my desk. So if you haven't ever taken like a Google Meet with me, might get a little bit of feedback here. We're working on our audio here in the background. You might not have seen this. This is actually Rusty's desk. It sits behind me. The stream room is kind of taken apart a little bit right now. But the cool surprise is Kyle. Let's see. Are you okay, Kyle?
Hello. Yes, you can hear me now. I had to roll the intro. I forgot to roll it before you came on.
Oh, there we go. Intros. Yay. Perfect.
Hello, everyone.
Now I can hear myself too, so I don't hear myself. Okay. So yeah, this is a transitional period because I have done a bad job running the Ninja live stream for a while now. You notice it's been like I do like one every 3 months basically. It's like the feature stream, and maybe I do one more. Oh, thank you. And so Kyle is going to be. My mic is very low. Oh no, sorry. Okay. See if you can boost
Blah,
my
blah,
audio.
blah. Yeah, I see that. Thank you.
Okay.
Is that better, guys? Turn myself down a little bit.
Thanks, Rico. Thanks, Valgrind. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We'll get it figured out. I just sort of dumped all the stuff onto Kyle. I was like, hey, actually, I didn't even do a good job dumping it till the last minute, but great. He's got a whole new stream config and setup that we're using. So you'll see some new tricks and things that he's working on. But yeah, Kyle's up in Vermont, and I'm still here in Florida. We're going to be jointly streaming sometimes. He'll be just stream by himself sometimes. I might just do, I might still be around to do some streams myself. But the main thing is I've been very unreliable. So we're hoping that Kyle could do a better job with regular streaming. We should get way more content out. Expect a lot more videos and snippets. If you remember, I used to do like the Binary Ninja Basics and some of the other stuff, and Kyle's got a lot more focus, and he is also the main trainer for Binary Ninja, so he does a lot of our like training content. So we'll actually probably be covering a lot of the stuff we do in the training classes just here on the stream. So there's a whole bunch of stuff he's working on. Like Kyle, any other kind of explanations, or yeah, what do you?
Well, yeah, we've got a new whole stream schedule too. We've got a whole format for the streams now. We're going to be doing State of the Ninja right at the top. Tell you guys some tip of the week or this week on dev. And we're also always going to be doing a community highlight. If you have any reversing horror stories, you can send them my way, and I'd love to read them on stream. Or anyone you want to highlight, if there's a good paper, if there's a good plugin you've seen. And we'll be keeping an eye out, too, of course, on the community and seeing what we want to promote. We love you guys. We know you guys love us, so just spreading the love.
I thought about leaving that comment unreplied to, Valgrind, to see if it did work, but I'll let myself get distracted. And yeah, we'll see. Kyle might be a little bit more focused on the agenda than I am. My distractibility is notorious, I feel like. So we'll see how that works. But yeah, we'll find out.
All right. Well, today I wanted to talk about some of as the tip of the week this week, some settings that you guys might not look at too much. So here's our setup here. Looking good.
Are we still, I don't see, I think, oh, there it is. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Just a bit of delay there.
Yeah.
So when you open a file in Binary Ninja, you get, let's just do cat, all this. You usually have your cross-references up and your symbol view up. But personally, I like to stay decluttered. You'll notice I even opened up the graph view. I usually go ahead and hide my feature map, but I was taking some screenshots the other day, so I had to turn it back on. And all this is controllable through some settings. So I just wanted to go through some of the sidebar settings here. Sidebar, and there's a lot in here. So you can notice that for myself, just to open every binary with nothing open, I just have that as an empty list. But you guys can put whatever you want in here, and thankfully our little builder will add things for you as well. So that's that. But there's a ton of other things in here. Jordan, are there anything that you like to change?
So yeah, in terms of the sidebar, I think I leave the settings pretty much default. And the other thing I would mention is that like I use Control B or Command B to toggle the
Yes.
sidebar on and off a lot. So instead of I tend to like have them on most of the time, and then when I want more screen real estate, I'll use the hotkey to switch that. Um, but yeah, I think my favorite settings are tooltips. I always disable those, especially when I'm streaming, because I feel like I like to point with my mouse at things, and then like the
Hmm.
tooltip pops up, the obscure thing I'm kind of pointing at. So yeah, exactly that one right there. Uh, yeah, that's a good point. Peter's got one that I think a lot of people like. If you prefer certain IL levels, like maybe you never look at low level IL, or maybe you don't like medium level IL, you just got to go all the way from low to high, or disassembly and high, or however you want to do it. Those are very good settings to mess with. And so, yeah, you
Yeah,
can.
so a lot of people never want to even look at decompilation necessarily in graph view. So maybe you only do disassembly and low level for graph.
Oh,
And
that's a cool
then
idea. Yeah.
when you're over here, you can hit I to cycle
Yep.
through that, shift I to go back. And then when we're in linear, we get all the forms.
Yeah, and you could even like maybe go linear. You could go just high level IL and disassembly, or
Exactly.
you could do that yourself. So that's another good one to do. Um, you also have like the save layout stuff, right? So you could also use that. You could set up multiple panes. It's a little hard when like when we're doing streams and stuff because we tend to try to keep it at 1080 resolution. Um, but like when you've got a really big monitor, you got a lot of things open. Like you may want to have multiple panes by default. Like a lot of people want like geeter mode basically, right? Where decomps on the right, systems on the left, the split pane view. Um, and I kind of go back and forth because I'm oftentimes screen sharing at like 1080p. I tend with like a big font. It doesn't really give you much room for that. So I usually don't do that. What are most of my settings? Actually, I can go check that. It's been a while since I looked at my settings. It is nice too. You can also just search for @user, and I can just
Yeah.
see all of my settings that I've changed from the defaults. I think I nuked my settings not that long ago, but I still have a couple of changes.
What
If I
is this
can,
by default now? Oh, even bigger than I have it. Cool. Um, Restore. I leave the restore view state for file off. What this will do is if you open a binary view with this on, close it and reopen it, even if you don't save it as a database, it'll bring you back to where you were. I don't like that because I'm often demoing things and I just want to bring me back to main so I can redo my clean demo. And maybe some of you guys prefer that as well. But
yeah, I do think for most users, when you are just reversing, that is actually is a nice feature. So I think it makes sense to have it on by default. But I agree, I do the same thing because I'm demoing things a lot. I kind of like going back to my default state, a clean sort of pristine thing where I don't want it to sort of spoil the ending, whatever I want to show. So I will oftentimes turn that off. But I think it's yeah, in general, I think it's a nice feature to turn on.
yeah, I also have high level IL as my default graph view. Most people, again, are only going to want to be looking at disassembly in graph view because that's what they're used to. I'm going to assert that they're wrong. You guys will learn how much I love graph view
You can
over
try to
these
convert them. You
streams.
haven't converted me yet, but I do find it interesting.
It is very helpful, I think, but I'll hold my rant about that for some other
Oh, well,
time.
you know another one I have turned off. I have extract types from mangled names disabled
Oh, really?
because of C++ binaries. Yeah, because
Mm,
right now those are really kind of annoying. The this keyword isn't extracted from. It's not in the mangled names. It's sort of implicit when it's a C++ class, and so we don't actually have the correct number of parameters, which will throw off your decompilation. The downside is you do lose the types that it does know about. So it's kind of like it's just something we need to figure out a better generic solution for. But that's one thing that I have turned off temporarily. Yeah, exactly. Go to it's a good joke answer for Kyle too. I see in chat Peter's suggestion for settings x86 disassembly syntax. And that was one you did as an intern, didn't you? Many years ago.
yeah, that was one of my first tasks. You can switch to AT&T
Okay.
if you would
Yeah,
like.
I want to be clear though. I don't think we did we actually assign that to you though. I don't think I think you were assigned to work on Zed And I think you're like, oh yeah, by the way, I can do ATT syntax too while I'm here. And everyone's like, I guess if you want. But I don't think we actually like asked for ATT syntax.
Well, another thing you didn't ask for is the disassembly separator. You can change that as well
That's true. Yeah.
if
Oh
you
man,
want to have cat separated.
I've
It
never
didn't
done
work.
that. Is that another thing? If you copy paste into it, or if it only takes out.
It might just be the macOS picker being weird.
I'm
There you
curious.
go. If you restart now, and that's not labeled as a restart setting, but it is.
Oh, should figure. I'll make a note. Easy fix.
There you go. And then the emoji, but you can add some spaces in there if you wanted to. The real reason for this, I think, would be like if you wanted to throw a settings, an arrow in here. Some users think that it's just easier to conceptualize the move from REX to RBX, left to right like that.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah.
And reopen. So this is the real reason it's there, but you can also do the cats if you want.
Thank you, Peter. That's a great point. Yeah. So that setting that I mentioned earlier about demangle, extract types from mingled names, specifically for doing C++ on not Windows, you should explicitly turn that off, and your decompilation will be better. Yeah, as a workaround. There's also an existing GitHub issue, which reminds me, I want to make Peter a moderator so you can post links if he's not already.
I'm going to have to get better about watching the chat. I'm not used to it.
Or you could not, because I get easily distracted, as Valgrind pointed out earlier. So that's arguable whether that's better or not.
No, I like to interact.
Yeah. A couple of other things that I have in my settings too are the compact new tab. So if you search for compact, you'll see I run that with which setting was it?
Oh, okay.
Compact file. Yeah. So if you open a new tab and then like compare the
I don't have
results.
many things up, but
I have a lot. Yeah, I mean, if it's a fresh stream profile, right, you won't get as much. But
perhaps the
you have a
best.
lot of files in your history. Um, it it will it'll really make it. Yeah, if they're all Mako files. So that's another setting. I absolutely changed that one too. That's actually one of the first things I changed, because it makes opening up things on macOS better.
Usually I have it changed as well, yeah.
Right, set that default Mako slice, and then you don't have to. I think if you just search for Mako.
I was just looking at the different settings.
Oh, yeah.
Universal, I believe it is.
Yep,
And
that's it.
then you take. I know you have to add the architecture preference. And
You get rid of universal. Just yeah, exactly.
and you also remove universal, right?
Exactly. So remove universal, and then I set mine to like ARM64, by the way, because I usually want the ARM64 slice, which is the native one on my Mac. So I'll do that.
64. Doesn't matter which one you use.
Yeah, just ARM64 by itself. Actually, I think I have ARM64 and ARM64E.
Yeah, I believe.
Sure.
I remember using the E in the past as well.
Yeah, so like that's my preferred setting there. Like if you're on a Mac, it's just a lot easier if you know you always want that, and you can still use open with option. And then yeah, you can also change the sidebar icons, right? So we very much were VS Code inspired, but
I didn't know about that one. I did notice that they seemed a bit large recently.
yeah, I'm a fan of this. I will say it depends on your screen resolution, right? Like I'm on my 4K monitor right now, they're like perfect, but on 1080 they do take up a little bit more room, so you can switch them to a smaller size. Yeah, if you haven't just spent some time digging through the preferences or settings rather, looking for things, you'll almost certainly find some things that you would prefer. Like not everyone's going to like our defaults, that's for sure, and that's totally fine. That's why we have the setting system in there. I'm actually curious if anybody else in the stream actually has settings that they always change.
There's one other that I change. It's the seamless navigation in the symbols view here. This just lets you single click into these functions
I
instead of having to
didn't
double
know
click
that
them.
existed. That's funny.
And then you can also down arrow and up arrow through them if you want.
I like that. Huh.
Sometimes I'd suggest people enable shuffle folders first too, if that's what they're expecting.
Yeah, and this does bring up a good point too, right? The difference between like the global setting system, which actually we should talk about a little bit. It's not always global, like the scopes and context and view, project, and all that stuff. But um, some settings are like in the UI element where they exist only. Some settings are more like uh, in the settings and also in the UI, and then we're trying to be more consistent where they're in both places, right? So like seamless, for example, seamless navigation is a setting, um, and it also is there in available in the menu. So that one, it helps with discoverability. Oh yeah, allow wide lines. Yes, if you especially if you have a big monitor. So now that we have line wrapping turned on, yep,
This is no one I knew.
yeah. Well, it's relatively new. That one was just added because of the line wrapping, right? Max function size 0. Oh no, you maniac. Ethical math is exactly for the fearless, Peter says. Yeah, so that one, if you're not familiar, will basically, so like we have a bunch of limits, whether it's the analysis time, the size of the function, there's a bunch of other things that can be like, hey, we don't think we should analyze this function by default. And so what'll happen is it'll just say this function hasn't been analyzed, and you can click on it to like manually trigger analysis of it. Um, but the setting is max function size, and so if you set to 0, you're just saying like analyze absolutely everything. So that's brave. Yeah, that's quite brave. If you have that setting turned on, um, be prepared for bad things to happen if you're just opening very large firmware blobs, for example, or obfuscated binaries or things that can be problematic that could use a lot of memory and or use a lot of CPU and or even or crash, or you could have issues with very, very large stuff at that point. So those limits tend to be there. Although actually just the function size, you're still gonna have the analysis limits for timeout. So yeah, Josh is also suggesting we bump the overall output volume up. I can't see the, actually I can hear myself, I guess. Oh yeah, it is a little low, I think. Actually, Kyle, if you talk,
Test. Yeah,
I
there
can
we
hear you two ways, right? I can hear you through the stream and through video, so I could probably tell you what the volume is.
go. Yeah, no, this is my max volume here. I'd need to amplify it more to get it louder than this. I guess I can throw a filter on it though. Filter.
It's closer now, but it's still
Gain.
maybe 5% off of.
Let's add.
Yeah, getting the volume rate's the hardest thing. Thanks, Josh.
I have to boost yours as well now. But is that actually any? Yeah, that is a bit louder, isn't it?
Testing, testing. Oh yeah, actually, I can hear you talk.
Filters.
It's still not the same. Like if I just hear you on video Ninja, it's still louder, I think.
Oh, interesting. All right, that should be better for both of us for them though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's workable now. We can fiddle with it later.
You might even be a little bit hot there, and I think I might still be a bit quiet. But yeah. Cool.
All right. Fun settings.
So yeah, fun with settings. Let's go to today's main event. I was thinking, I got two ideas which we can choose from. One of them is a program analysis script where we create structured types for variables. The idea of this is a structured type is a type with no name, with it's very loosey-goosey, pretty much. It's a type that is defined by a list of attributes, not a name, not values, not other types necessarily, but just a set of attributes. It's sort of like how dwarf works, where you have a entry and it has a bunch of attributes, and they can have values in them at times. They can link to other nodes. They can do all sorts of stuff, but it is defined by the attributes in the node and the values within those attributes rather than an identifier or something else.
So what's an example of this? I mean, are you talking about a feature of the Binja type system, or just more of a general program analysis approach of like applying generic attributes to things?
Yeah, no, this is a more generic approach to, I guess, defining more arbitrary types than what C would allow you to define. So what I'd like to do is...
By the way, it's funny that we actually, just internally, Rusty recently has been adding type attributes to Binja's type system too. Coincidentally, right? In fact, he's using it for his latest feature. He's been working on strings, right? Custom strings, and supporting like different string types, like Golang strings. And to do that, he added basically the ability to extend the Binja type system with sort of custom attributes as well too. So ironic that it's actually a relatively recent change to Binja to have kind of a similar feature.
So this is going to not use the type system at all. This is just a completely new type system, effectively.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're going to be able to define the type of a variable based on whatever we want. Maybe we define the type of a variable as whether or not it gets passed to a certain parameter of a certain function, or the set of other variables it interacts with, or the one that I want to do, the instructions it interacts with. So you define a variable as being added to, being divided by, being zero extended, being a couple things. And then you can find all the variables that have those attributes and do clustering or try to figure out how those attributes fit into C types. Because like if you see a variable that can be added, subtracted, and multiplied, it can likely be divided, and that sounds like an int. But if you see it being dereferenced, then it's probably not just an integer. It would need to be some sort of pointer type. So we can define sort of semantic types as how the variables are being used, as opposed to the more strict, in a way, C types. And that's what we like as reverse engineers. We like specific how they're being used things.
So option one is program analysis.
Program analysis.
People can tell you teach the program analysis training class. I think with you, that's definitely one of your main interests. And then option two is.
I was thinking about doing a, what did I call it? Yeah, function radar. So basically showing you a bunch of stats about the function you're looking at, and then comparing it to the other functions in the binary. It could be very interesting to find the biggest basic block in a binary, or the list of biggest basic blocks in a binary, because maybe that indicates some unrolled behavior potentially. On the flip side, maybe we can find functions that have very small basic block bodies, but many basic blocks, to show some obfuscated control flow.
Outgoing edges of a basic block, so you could find like dispatch loops and switch statement kind of things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So those are my two thoughts, and then maybe we can even write a script to generate that data for a corpus, so we can compare the function we're looking at and the binary we're looking at to, some amount of training data. Maybe not finishing all of that up today, but at least getting some of the function statistics working. So those are the options.
Vote in chat. Of course, people are always welcome to ask questions at any time, especially because we've got like several other Binja people in the chat. So it's a great time to. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention earlier. Peter also mentioned single function mode, which is one of the more popular settings for people that are coming over from Ghidra or IDA. And I would also shout out the documentation on that, which actually you worked on too, Kyle. Oh, you can do polls? I have not been using the tools available very well. Neat.
Four votes. Structured types. Is it only ninjas watching today?
No, we have 21 people watching, so I don't think the whole company is here.
A couple people are voting for Function Radar.
You want to pull up the docs real quick and show people single function view while they vote? We can go back real quick and cover that one.
The docs?
Yeah, show the conversion migrating from IDA to Ghidra. I think that's something I've shown on stream before, but it's probably worth showing again. Yeah, so the migration page, specifically the.
Is there not a screenshot of it?
You know what? It doesn't look like there is. I'll make another note of that.
There we go. I think this is what we're looking for here.
Yeah, and then sort of show. So one, I just want people to be aware of that page. Oh, there's a change to that page too, which actually is a thing to mention. The cross references have actually changed dramatically on latest dev, and there's several new settings that are supported on that. So I'm actually curious if people in chat who aren't from Vector 35 anyway, if you've noticed that, if you've used it, if you like it better or worse, did you change the settings, did you leave it? But for like 9 years of the company's history, 10 years of the company's history, if you hit X, it would focus the cross references pane that was in the lower left. But if you use the view that like Kyle was showing off earlier, right, where he was specifically kind of hiding all the panes around the outside edge, doing like the main big view, then having to focus the cross references, kind of pops out the pane and maybe isn't as great. So there's a couple new settings that you can use now, where if you hit X on something now, actually I'm curious what Kyle's setting are set to. So I'm curious when he hits it, what happens actually. Have you changed it, or are you rocking the defaults?
For which one?
Just hit X on anything.
Oh, yeah, I didn't change that.
Yeah, so that's the new default, right? So I'm curious if people have tried this, prefer it, like it, don't like it. And then the other one is you can so like by default we now basically do pinned cross references. So if you have the sidebar open, if he does that command B thing, you'll see the sidebar is like will live update, but the thing you hit X on is always at the bottom. It stays, so it's more persistent, I guess is a better way to put it, instead of like just the always ephemeral, always updating things. And for the IDA people, yeah, it makes multiple. Like if you'll do tabs, each time you do it, you get a new set of like things.
Command W doesn't close the tab though, even though I have the setting for it to close panes. Usually by default, Command W will close your entire tab up here, your entire binary view, but I have that hotkey set just to close it pane at a time. I believe it's Command Shift W or Command Alt W to close a pane by default.
Close the pane by default. Yeah, I forget the exact hotkey. And then, so now if you go to your settings again and search for reference, actually there's two ways you can do it. One is you can bind a hotkey, and the other one is you can change the cross-reference, or maybe reference wasn't a good search, sorry.
Sorry, what was that?
Yeah, search for cross-reference maybe. So like I said, we've changed the default to be pinned right, yeah, at the very bottom. So default cross-reference. If you want the old Binja way, choose sidebar. If you want the IDA way, choose dialogue. So and then the new default is sort of the Ghidra way. You can have these literally Ghidra, Binja, and IDA, like each of these in terms of the default view. But we support all of them now. So if you change it to dialogue, or actually you don't even have to change it to dialogue. You can just go to your hotkeys and maybe bind like Shift X or Control X to
change that
and Shift B, I think, yeah. And if you search for reference, yeah, exactly. One of them is the cross-reference dialogue. That's the one that's, yeah. So okay, yeah, you can see here. So show cross-references at selection, the X default key. That'll use the setting that was the other setting you were changing. So you can just change that setting there, and that will cause it to change the default behavior of that. But the other option is you could just actually have separate hotkeys for each of these modes and use them all interchangeably. So like you could change, like for example, cross-reference dialogue to like I don't know what a good hotkey is. Command X because cut isn't really a thing, maybe, or I don't know. Yeah, any other hotkey that you have that's unbound. I don't even know if you can. Sure.
Apparently, that can. No, is yellow user or is that conflict?
Command M is isn't anything.
Okay.
Yeah, it's minimized maybe on the OS, so I don't know if it'll eat it or not. But
Oh, well, I just rebounded to.
Command Shift M is plugin manager, but Command M I didn't think was.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. So yeah, so now if you select something with cross references and then hit X, you'll get and the thing that Rusty did for this too is it's persistent. So if you hit like down enter and then X again, you'll still be in the same thing you were before. So you can kind of use that as like a little work. Like this is really just like item mode. Like it's really right. So you hit X, you hit down enter, hit X down enter. People who really want that pop up, they can. It's a true like modal pop up. We kind of had the hack that I sort of tried to make the right click one turn into window mode or floating mode, but it didn't work really well. So this is much nicer.
That actually solves a very long-standing issue I've had of being like, you have a variable down here, and just where is it? Well, now you can just with the keyboard instead of having to go over
That's
here.
You never have to take your hands off the keyboard. We're also trying to like improve some other keyboard navigation related things. So like another change
But
that
I'm sorry, before you go on to that, there is also the go to next cross reference.
yes,
So you don't have to do the workflow I just described. You can just go.
And those do have a default binding. Actually, those are actually I think not a lot of people know about that. That is a default hotkey binding, the option, which I think it's Control X or whatever on Linux and Windows. But yeah, you can just go to the next and previous cross reference using that too, which is nice. But sometimes it's kind of to preview it and see it, which is where the other, which even in the focus, the lower left one, you have the same behavior, and the focus is improved, right? So again, hitting X will focus you over there. You can hit down enter for all of the dialogues, whether it's pinned, whether it's the modal dialogue, or whether it's the pane. You can sort of X down enter, X down enter, X down enter. So muscle memory is a little bit better. Another thing, and this is something I'd love for people to keep an eye out for, like let us know if you run into a time where like you consistently have to take your hands off the keyboard when you don't think you should, let us know. So a good example of where I was watching somebody use the product and they were in the type browser and they hit like S to make a new type and the keyboard wasn't like they weren't focused in the box where you could actually type at all. And so it was like, and then even after you hit enter, that type that was just created wasn't actually selected in the type browser. And so I just made a couple of very small changes to like focus the right element when you do stuff like that. And I think there's a lot of little places like that where we could add some nice polish. And sometimes we just don't use the product enough to notice those paper cuts. But when you're daily driving it a lot, you can run into it a lot. So yeah, just something to keep an eye out for. Definitely let us know if you notice yourself having to like go use your mouse just to click on something, even after you've already made it. Yeah. So is this one with a good structure?
Potentially.
Something else.
I was just trying. This does have. It's a simple one. So if we try to, so the structured types vote one, with 64% of the vote. So we'll do that, which is good because it's been plaguing my mind for a few weeks, and I've been wanting to sit down and write this. So there's a few things we're going to need here. We're going to need to be able to traverse among all the function use sites, and then we're going to need to go to the parent expression and grab the operation of the variable, and then we can keep like a dictionary of variables to operations, and we can see just what everything's doing. So let's go ahead and start with that. Ooh, and I can also add stream markers now, so we can cut this out as a video for people who weren't able to make it.
Neat.
This is all in YouTube Studio, by the way.
I was just saying, it's an OBS thing, or that's cool.
All right, so we have the current variable, magic variable in our console, and we have our current IL function as well. Now, you might want to do this on SSA. Let's just not do it on SSA for now. We won't have to deal with merging types through phi's, which could be useful to do to see if there's any type confusion on separate branches, but we'll ignore
I
that for now.
I thought you were a cat person. You prefer Fido, not feline?
Um, I do go for phi more, I think so.
See, you're
Yeah.
secretly a dog person.
Ah.
For,
Oh, you
the
can't say that.
I
They're
know,
not
where are
here
your
right now,
kitties? Are the
thankfully.
kitties around?
They're
So for
downstairs.
context, stream, we have our, I don't know if I've shown our two mascots before, but we actually have Fido and Feline. Know thy enemy. Yeah. Use the language of it. So we have our dog character whose name is Fido, Phido, and then there's Feline, Philine. I forget. Yeah, Feline. Um, and we that's pretty good in both of the versions. So that yeah, they're mostly buddies, but they have like different pronunciations, which is especially funny because in like program analysis and in Greek, the phi phi debate rages, and so the fact that we we have both of them, I think, is especially fun. I don't know. It's a very nerdy joke, but I love it so much. Speaking of Jordan getting distracted,
All good. I do like to share the Benji images as well, too.
exactly.
Cool. So what's really nice here is what we can see is if we get the current variable use from the current function, it'll give us a list of high-level IL variable instruction objects. This object is not the same as the variable object. It wraps the variable object. And this is important because whereas you only have one instance of the variable throughout the function, the actual variable object, it has multiple use sites. And now these expression objects are going to have parents. So if we simply cycle through those, var, we could say instruction variable objects, instvar in, and then parent. There we go. And now from here we might want to make zero extends transparent potentially, and see instead the signed comparisons, and then potentially with this particular binary our decompilation has.
Is it different on stable? It's always fun when that happens. Oh, another thing I'll point out too, while he checks that out, is you notice that the title bar up there where it says Mako graph IL view, that's now highlighted, and the reason we do that is because if you're in a split pane, you can tell which has focus, which is really nice. It was way too subtle before, so it's a lot more obvious. When Rusty made those cross reference changes, he also added that. And so you can tell when a pane has focus, or particularly if you do a vertical split where you have half, one view and half another, that's when it's really useful. And then so coming up soon on his to-do list is also to something just dropped in the other office. I don't know if you could hear that on the stream.
Yeah, I came across.
Yeah, you could. He's going to work on some hotkeys for better like moving between them and opening and closing them and stuff. So make the keyboard navigation a little bit smoother.
Okay, so now we have one. This is a little more interesting. We can see a variable that is unsigned, potentially, being used in two unsigned comparisons and then being zero extended. Is it safe to zero extend unsigned numbers? It is, so that should be fine. But if we made that zero extend transparent, we'd notice that it's being used in a signed comparison. So this would enable us to potentially find really simple signed comparison bugs. Like is happening in this binary. You can never get this binary to print you're doing great right now. So we can do this for all variables as well, but how do we want to begin doing this? I think we want to add an action that'll collect the type for the variable, because we are going to start propagating through assignments, and we'll be able to copy all the operations being applied to one variable to the other one over an assignment. There are certain other operations that will also be able to start to propagate the instructions across as well. And then maybe we'll start to create a sidebar to render those for ourselves as well. Sound like a good plan? Let's do this as a snippet, I think, for now.
I'm curious too for the chat if you've used both snippets and the automation workbench in Sidekick. What features would you want from each one if we were to integrate them first party? We've been talking about making, well, they're both first party in terms of effectively 5 people wrote both, but I kind of think we need an integrated like script editor that would be basically a superset of both. So I'm curious what you think. If you have feedback, let us know.
Oh, cool. We can just copy and paste in what we were doing.
I think Command tilde will work to switch to that.
Oh, I didn't know that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Now we can save and run this. It's not going to print anything because we need to select the right variable. There we go. So this is effectively the structured type for this variable. We just want to put that in the dictionary and start. Oh, yes, cool. It's not printing anything because I didn't tell it to print anything. In the Python console, if you leave it there, it will print the result of that. But here we actually need to call print. Or we can log, however we want to do it. Dot operation.
But yeah, by default, printing will just go to log on the script that if you're running it in the REPL, it'll go out to the REPL. But if you're running a script and you print it, it goes to log by default because you may not have the REPL open. We do some shenanigans with standard out essentially to hijack it in that scripting interface.
All right, so I'm going to try to get all the function or the variables now. Current function of variables, I think that is. Bars, cool. We'll probably need to filter these, but let's just see what they all look like. Let's not do it like that. Let's start making those dictionaries. So we got var.name. By the way, guys, you can also open this in your editor. So then you can get, oh no, it undid the changes I had, whatever. I meant to save it before opening it in the editor.
It should probably warn, actually.
That would be nice.
I have whether it's dirty or not in snippets.
All right, so we'll say that this name is now an empty list. Yeah, and then we'll append those operations to that list. And let's not do it as a one-liner for now, because it's going to get trickier later with all the propagating we'll have to do. We'll have to start doing. All right. So now we will snippets, structured types. We need to print those. All right. Did that save? That did save. Now we run that again. If you have Command P Enter, you will always be able to run that last thing. And let's pretty print this.
I edited the poll, by the way. I just saw the setting for that since it was still open.
Will it do it for me? The AI is not smart enough. Often the case. Var name and types. And P enter, run that last thing. And now we can start to see these very basic structured types for these variables. These should probably be sets. So let's make them sets. We don't care about necessarily, we might care about the number of times an operation is applied to a variable, but let's keep it just slightly more general, just whether or not the variable was, the operation was ever applied to the variable, that's what I'm trying to say. And now if we clear this log, because that's a lot of data, we can start to see some things. So I would argue here that all these variables are of the same type. They're all zero extended, unsigned compared, they have the address taken of them, and then compared again. What are those four variables? 18, 12, 11, 10. Those are going to be variables in medium level IL. That's all right. We can do this on MLIL. It is nice to be able to do it on high-level IL, but I'm not sure how to filter out those variables off the top of my head, unless we were actually traversing all the instructions.
Yeah, doing stuff recursively, like visitor pattern.
All right, let's do it that way. Let's make it more complicated.
I prefer not to. I usually just do the lazy.
Oh, it's easy. It's easy. Come on, guys. You've all written traversers on stream before, right?
See, this is why. So I'll let you do it.
All right. If you guys haven't used traversers before, this is the most powerful thing you can do in Binja, like hands down. One of our coworkers said the other day that if you're not using Binja's API while using Binja, you're not using Binja right. And I think this right here is a stellar example why. So I'm opening up Tonto in its own pane. Tonto is something you got to go install in the plugin manager. And I'm also using one of the dev slices now. This was made by me. I published it as a community plugin instead of an official one. But with these instruction slices, this is like Ryan Stortz's old instruction graph. But
BNIL graph.
BNIL graph. But now it's just a little more direct. Previously you had like dot operation here, and it was a little unclear if you needed to do this instruction, dot operation, dot left. But now it's just, we have, I'm not sure why it's showing dot false there.
Dot false doesn't look.
Okay, well we have the comparison. Oh, wait.
No, I guess that's...
Yeah, it shouldn't be called dot false. It should be called dot... Shouldn't be called anything?
Yeah.
Not sure what's going on that one. Yeah, like that one doesn't have that. So there's just some weird property on that, if that it's capturing. But we can ignore that top one. If we do the current instruction, current IL instruction.
IL instruction, yeah.
And then we can grab the dot condition. What this, it's very sensitive to what you're selecting, so it thought I was selecting something over here. I need to be selecting the actual instruction object here. So the current IL instruction, dot condition. This tree represents fields you can actually query. So we can just do dot condition, and then I can copy that on dot left, and then we can go into the dot var there. But again, you need to make sure you're clicking into the right pane and on the right expression. So there we go. That's what the instruction graph in Tonto is great for, just creating these little chains here. We can go one step further though. If we need to collect all the variable uses in this function without using the dot vars and then dot uses. All right, thank you for reminding me, Josh. Our videos are not the most important thing in the world at the moment. It's a good thing I went down that left path, though. So now we get, right, so we want to iterate through all the instructions in the function. traverse into them, recurse into them, because these instructions are trees. So we can grab these variable instruction objects as the sort of base case of our recursion. So for instruction in current function dot HLIL, current IL function, there we go. Oops. Instructions. Ah! There we go. All right. Cool. So now that we're going through there, we are simply going to call traverse on those. It takes, well, it takes a lot of things, but we're going to say that it at least needs to take a function object. So we need to define that function. That function takes at least an instruction and can return whatever it wants. If you have like a working list in here that you want to use, you can also initialize that with a default value, but we're not going to do anything nearly that complicated yet. We're simply going to, let's actually just return the instruction. I could print it from here, or I can return it, in which case this is a generator. If I ran this right now, it would not do anything. Like so. Well, it returns a bunch of generator objects, but I actually need them to yield for no, it needs to be something other. Inst2 in. We can grab those. Inst2. If I can type. And there we go. So what's interesting about this is if we find an interesting instruction, like this if, we can see it descend into the condition of the if statement, and then it descends into the left-hand side, then the right-hand side, then that dereference has an addition inside of it, and then we go into the left and the right-hand sides of those addition. So I'm not sure where, right here? And we can see that in Tonto's instruction graph as well. So we've got that right-hand side, which is a dereference. That dereference is the dereference of an add of a variable and a constant. So now we get to do something really cool. We get to use, instead of all this, let's just do that for now, pass. We could again print from here, but instead of printing, we're going to start matching some instructions. So I want to match this instruction. We will define a case, and I'm looking for, hopefully you guys can't hear my cat screaming. She just wants to play. I promise she's fine. Let's see. She does make such concerning noises though. Our base case is going to be this variable instruction object, but let's pretend for a moment that we're trying to find, let's say, just all unsigned comparisons with a constant on the right-hand side. We could do, let's see, we want the unsigned comparison, so I'm going to copy the class, throw that in there, and then the dot right, I'm going to copy that, needs to be a high-level IL constant with a constant field in it. And let's just for now say OX63, just to be really specific. Now, does that work? None type has nothing called instructions. There we go. So that is using Tonto, just a copy-paste way to get yourself these little instruction matchers. In the future, I'd love to put interesting. In the future, I'd love to put Stortz's plugin already has a like matcher generator thing. Yeah, I believe you're right. You're probably right. The instruction graph itself might not do that. So I probably need to fix that. Now, in this case, it doesn't necessarily need to be this complicated, but let's just grab the variable out. Do we need the variable? Yes, we do need the variable for sure. Let's go back to our previous script. Oh, it's over here. All right. So now we're doing this with the traverser. All the functions, we grab the variables. We could just make a list of the variables and then do the uses again. That would be a little bit redundant processing, I think. From here, we can just grab the instop parent. So we'll throw that there. And now, instead of using a global variable, we can actually pass through the structured types if we want. And then do that down here too, which is still technically using a global variable, but we'll be able to nest this inside of a function later. We need to grab the instruction there, and then we'll print everything at the bottom, and I think we can delete all that. Hello. Let's see. Right, this was a snippet. Just reminding myself where we're running these. Close that, open up this, Command P, structured types, and we get some errors. Oh, right, you have to use a different variable name. Sidebar, why not? Did I do it backwards? No. Has no attribute name. Let's just do this. It was online. Cool. All right. So now we just need to do there we go. We need to see if we've already found the variable before, and if we have, then we will just add to the set, and otherwise we will create a new set with that element. Right? Is not iterable. There we go. And now that is a lot fewer variables than we had before, because we're in high-level IL now, and a lot of the variables are collapsed. And I believe a lot of the variables I claimed were going to be the same type got merged, so they are in fact the same type, with the same operations being applied to them. So just nice to see that be proved by Binary Ninja, in addition to our simple little analysis. lightweight analysis we're doing. But now it would be interesting, I guess, just to do this over the entire binary and start trying to find the same types across multiple functions. So let's start making maybe a sidebar widget to track the actual types we care about. Or you have any other ideas, Jordan? No?
That sounds good.
All right, let's do a sidebar then. So to do a sidebar, this is also now going to need to be a plugin. So let's create a new file. This is going to be GitHub Vector plugins.
Ooh, all the secrets are there.
All the secrets. Don't look.
Big Ninja.
I have a lot of old projects in my folders here.
I do too.
And then I'm going to symlink this as well.
You're good, Heaps. I think we really have very many secrets. Our features are on a public roadmap. There's really not a whole lot of things that we keep we keep secret. Passwords, I guess. Be about it. Certificates.
The Vector 1 license?
Not anymore. Shut down.
I did that wrong.
That literally would have, well, anyway, before that was shut down, that actually would have been leaking information to say that. Thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it. We actually have these in the Binary Ninja store. You can actually buy Ninja swag in here.
So now, okay. So I have this structured types.py here. It should be in my plugins folder now as well. We can see that it is. So now I'm going to go copy the Hello Sidebar plugin from the API to get us started.
It's also in your local install path, so if you happen to be offline, this whole folder is wherever you've got Ninja installed with these particular examples. That's all right, Heaps. That's what Cloud and Free are for. We got you still. Hopefully those work for you. Also, the hat's way cheaper than the product is. But if you are a student, make sure you check out the student discount too. Hat is still cheaper, but it saves a lot.
All right, we've got a lot of sidebars these days. Where's mine?
And at least you can control them there, yeah.
Can we focus on
the right, there's an H.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. So instead of hello, let's call this structured types, and I just used the keybind there to Command D in VS Code, selects all instances, place them at once. And then we want to, let's see, we're going to want a list of variables on the top, and then on the bottom we're going to want a just basically text field, or I guess a list of the attributes. Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah, a list of the attributes. So in the interest of time, how are we going to prompt this? This sidebar widget should have a list on the top, text, fields, field, just one, on the bottom, some, just a string on the bottom.
Yeah, I have found like Claude and OpenAI really good at just like, I want to do this in Qt
It's
Here's some
really good
scaffold.
at the
Just give me
frameworking.
the,
It's really
and then
good
you
at the
can
Qt, yeah.
either reprompt it to actually tweak it and tune it and clean it up, or you can just iterate on it.
Okay. Yeah. Let's just get it to give us the split thing. I will list on top and text field on the bottom. Let's just keep it at that.
Ninja, there are no explicit LLM docs, but because they're generated from the API itself directly, you can actually just point it at the API repo, which is open source, and get the same effect.
Okay, cool. So let's see how well it did. It did not great. Okay, cool. So let's explain to it. The split should be in half. I need the elements being added to the list are going to have a text field attribute to display on the bottom, not a text entry. And I find that being nice to it helps as well. Yay, simplifying. Yay, adding. Yeah, letting the agents run loose on my computer is giving me pause. I want to play around with it, but I've been wanting to do it in a VM first. Is this closer to what we want? Yeah, this is good. All right, perfect. Ah, amazing. So, what does the API give us? Populate list, on selection changed. Not going to need that. I hope. All right, so how's it doing this populate list? Cool. So instead of doing that, what does that get called? Just in a init? All right. Interesting. All right. So now what do we need to do here? Let's kill this. We need to add an action that will do that for us instead. I guess we could have. Yeah, I guess we can do that. Will this update dynamically if I give it a name and text? Yeah, should. But we'll need to update the item if it already exists, it looks like. So let's just assume we get complete objects for now. Sweet. So now from here, we're also going to need... we're going to need to get that, but we'll burn that bridge when we get to it. So we need an action that'll run this code now for a single variable. So we need the register for variable. Is that a thing? Do I want to do it the super hacky way I do it in Tonto though, instead? This is true, this is true. Alright. Let's just get the, well... Yeah, alright. Tonto view is the right one to do. Never write something twice if you can avoid it. Context menu event. I don't think I want to quite go that far today, but I do need the helper that'll get me the variable. Get the selected expression. Contain bar. Alright. So that'll give me that, and then we need to... Getting a little caught up on this, because we need to do it the UI way, not the plugin way, as you said. So where do we register commands in here? Yeah, this is probably more complicated than I want to do right now. This way. But we can do it the other way. They're just not using all the crazy indirection stuff, that is. So we're going to register an action, do thing. Menu group, what is that? All right. Cool. And then is valid. This is going to take registrate action, does the is valid, which comes from that, which comes from the self.actions. There we go. We have register action, which is called by register for function. But now this is what it is. Register. Took me a moment to load this from disk. Register for variable. We can how much of this can we take? We can take all of this. But this isn't a view? It's in a view. We'll make these... Oh, it is using self, isn't it? No, it's not really using self. Alright, so this function here, we can remove all the stuff that makes it nice. Just grab the action. We'll leave the type annotations there so it'll help the bot. Then we'll go grab the register code and just maybe we'll ask ChatGPT to simplify this for us. Alright. So register action, all of this stuff, but we're not doing the menu group or menu order anymore. And certainly not just appending it like that. What was register action calling before? Oh, we was just adding it to the list. Because then registrate action gets called later. By that. Perfect. So it just goes through all of them, throws them in, so we can, oops, do the same. Instead of this code, we want that code, and it comes instead of this. And we also don't need, I guess we don't need any of that, because that will end up just being, there we go. Okay, starting to make sense. And none of this either. Okay, so I guess now all we have is the just normal UI registration code. Getting there the long way. Group and menu action, more menu group and menu action. We don't need the as valid wrapper either. Cool. Yep. No, we don't. Although it is nice to have the, this is how you get the currently selected variable in the UI. I believe it is. Why is that? Which action object is that? Oh, my bad. It's that action. Cool. So we don't need that at all? Okay. We'll close that for now. And where was that action I was getting caught up on? That there. Okay, cool. So we're not doing arbitrary actions anymore. We're just simply grabbing the core variable, and we're going to call the traverser, tracking that variable, and then we're going to grab those fields and append them to the list. So let's see if we can just do UI action, but that was the action wrapper. Well, no, we can do that better. Let's just grab any other example of this. Thank you. So the name is now going to be calculate structured type, where we have the first thing. This is just going to be true. So I delete the, there we go. Okay, cool. We're starting to get somewhere again. Maybe we will leave that name variable. Alright, so we've got UI register action in there twice for fun. Then we have the bind action with the better example call now. Yeah. We need to handle all those self calls it's doing, but we can register the action, bind the action. We don't have the... Oh, I see. We can use the global action handler. UI code stuff is weird, and I promise there are better examples than the one that I'm drawing from right now. But I've got serious presenter brain. It's probably literally in the cookbook. Oh, alright, let's try this. It's not doing anything yet, though. And in fact, that's not going to work. Oh, are there other things we... Yeah. Cool. Structured types. Calculate structured type. There we go. All right. So now we have a UI action, and I can say variable come from variable. Let's grab that helper. So this will grab us the IL function. Oh, right. We need the expr. Get selected expr is what we want. And this is using a traverser, by the way, in there. Do we need any of the helpers? We don't. Cool. I see. Okay, cool. Let's just return none if it can't get the current expression. I actually do recommend going through the Tonto helpers if you're looking to do weird UI things, whereas the rest of the rest of the Tonto code base is not a great example for things. the helpers are very helpful. All right. Oh, we do need get selected instruction. Still, anyways. And then needs get current IL function. And get current IL function is going to need, you know what? I don't want to make this a module.
Take off.
All right. Well, thanks for sticking around. It's been fun having you here.
Good time. Yeah. Look forward to some more with you. Appreciate you helping out.
Well, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. Bye. Now it's just me, guys. Let me actually close a couple things because my computer is not so slowly melting from everything that's running right now. Oh, wow. Yeah, just closing out Jordan's video helps a lot. Cool. And I don't need my headphones anymore because I'm not listening to anyone. All right. So we have the selected expression. If that is not none, do all that. All right, let's keep going then. I'll just copy all these over. Why not? We could make this a module. It would maybe be slightly easier. And then we need to get function type. We've got these, we've got that, we've got of type. That should be the base. All right, so bring over some imports just to be lazy. Copy all of them. Oh, we didn't have any binge imports. And then I had to find some extra types in here. And that uses the typing library. All right. And apparently we still don't have a UI context. So now, will this print the current, oh, we ran recover structures. Will this print the current variable or not, is the question. Let's select one and recover structures. Sorry, not recover structures. Calculate structures type, prints var12. Yay! So now what we need to do is, since now we finally have an action that'll give us what we currently have selected in the UI, we can grab the actual structure type for that. And we're going to need to filter to just that variable, which won't be too hard, because we can just say the variable here, and then we should be saying, let's say, var to match. And then hopefully we can just say var equals var to match. And now, we still need the structured type as well. And we're not doing it for all of those. We're only doing it for one. We're doing it for this. pretty close, actually. But I don't want to use the plural one as a global. Let's actually, I like the ST it's saying there. And then also not that, right? Oh, no, definitely that. But we don't need it to have a function if we just have the variable, because you can grab the function from a variable. You can also grab the IL function, which I believe is the one we want. Usually. There's not an IL variable, is there? No. Did somebody break this? Oh. I guess we'll just have to use the function. Is that what it's using, though? Oh, wait. Okay. So, for a variable, it's going to go through the function. So this needs... So first of all, we can get the var dot func dot hlil dot instructions. Which is basically where we were there. So for the instruction in that variables function high level instructions, we are going to traverse on each instruction. This will yield us the operations being applied to that variable. So we're going to say st.add. Oh no, that is iterable. It's generator, so we're good. Return st. And now this can be a one-liner. Can it? Because I'm adding... It's going to return a... No, it's going to return individual elements out of that. Let's keep it simple. So we make a set. We're going through all the instructions in that variable. Let's make sure that works. func.hlil.instructions. Okay, it's function, first of all. And it can't have a backtick in there. Cool. So for all the instructions in the variable, we will traverse those, and we'll add any, just the parent operation. That's all we need to return. Yeah. Sweet. And now the benefit of using a traverser still is in case there are many variables in the leaves, it'll still traverse to all of them, get the parent operations. Those parent operations will then be added to the set as long as they match the variable we are looking at. I'm not entirely sure why that's grayed out. But we'll figure it out when we get bugs. So, So get defined structure variable, we do that. So we have the selected expression over here. So that's likely a variable instruction object. But if we throw this together, we can take a look at where things are. See how it's working, if it's working. Got the expression. That expert thing's definitely not going to work. Because that's going to be an expression object, and we're currently filtering to a variable. So maybe var. Potentially. There's more error checking we should probably be doing on this. These are definitely not strings yet. But, yeah, let's just see. Don't save. Any errors? Add action, not enough arguments. I do need the if true thing. Yeah. Oh. Add action name. That's the one I was complaining about. Oh, it just needs second name in there. Okay, that worked. Let's select a variable. I keep running recover structures. Should probably rename this. Structured types. There we go. Get an error. No, HLIL. Oh, okay, cool. So the function object, for whatever reason, is the IL function object. I won't think about that too hard, and I'll let some of my coworkers who are watching the stream do that for me. Yes. All right. Oh, right. We should probably select that variable. Yay! So now we get a bunch of generator objects. So we do need to list these. Why not? Don't save. Calculate structured type. We gotta select that variable. There we go. High level IL var is not defined. That is okay. We can import it. There we go. Better error checking, again, would be nice. Unhashable type list. This is going to be operation in that added to our set of operations. Okay. The nesting of that has been confusing me, obviously. There we go. Finally. Okay, so we have that working again. And that means, what is that? That is a list of actual operations. So instead of just printing them, there's so many parentheses here. First of all, let's just simplify this a little bit because it's hard to read. There we go. All right. Did we already do that? We did. Cool. Got the name, structure type. So now what we need to do is we need to call into our object. But our object is a dynamic object. So we should be tracking, yes, we should be tracking these in a, should we? No, we should be tracking them per binary view. But let's just do it as a global variable for now. Why not? So, st types is a dictionary. And it's returning us the keys conveniently. So if we grab the global there, we can say, now this is going to be a little weird because we're going to be working across multiple functions. So we can't just say like that variable name. And what did I, okay, that was just a print before. And this is going to be the IL var. Like, in theory, again, we want to make sure that this is always going to be a variable of some sort. I don't have a, well, it's going to be the high-level IL variable, right? Yeah. So let's grab that from the console here. High-level IL variable, which is var. Okay, cool. Tab complete is useful. I am always going back, and we already had it here. Cool. I'm always going back there. All right. So in theory, we should be asserting that. For now, we're just going to, actually, you know what? We will use that check. If that, do the thing, otherwise, all right. And now this is going to grab the name of the variable, dot name, all right. And we can give it IL var. Now, did we give it the variable? We did give it the variable. Oh, that's probably because I had an instruction variable object versus the actual variable object before, for the difference between the IL function versus the bear function itself. Yeah. Restart this. Never closed. Thank you. Tuple has no attribute traverse. Fair, very fair. Where's that traverse call? In there? Which one was it? Line 204. Inst.traverse, where we're getting the instruction from the variable, but it's complaining tuple because we now can use the IL function because I'm giving it the right variable type, the variable instead of the instruction variable that wraps the core variable. Calculate structured type, restart. I'm restarting every time right now because it is a Python plugin, and for the Python interpreter to reload the new code, the easiest way, in my opinion, is just to restart it. Technically, we could delete the plugin from Python's memory space and reload it. I just prefer this. Restart and reopen is already bound to a key for me, F12 there. Thank you again. In fact, I should probably bind that to a hotkey too. Cool. Var has no attribute var because we've denested it somewhere and not somewhere else. Oh, okay. I think it's just the linter not knowing how cases work. Unless it's me not knowing how cases work. Both of which are entirely possible. High-level ILVAR has no dot name. All right, so it did something. It added it to the global variable. So now, we have a way to generate structured types for any variable, right? I promised you that we were going to be smarter about this because we want to be able to have the same named variable in multiple functions. So let's just name it by the ilvar dot function dot name, and yeah, import lib dot reload is what I'm talking about. Yeah, but I don't know. I just like to restart more. You still have to call delete on the module though. You delete structure types in this case, and then import load.reload. I think the examples on our in the docs. Yeah. Oh, I was wrong. You don't even delete it. You just do the import reload. Sorry about that. Misremembering things. Okay, cool. So we have the structured type now. It's even scoped to the function. We've got our traverser. We've got all this stuff. All that's working. Now we need to get it into the actual sidebar. This is where things get fun. Fun by some definition. Let's see how well Claude can do. The thing I'm thinking about here is it might struggle, like unless it uses the global variable and it refreshes a bunch, or sorry, it re-renders the list from the global variable, each whatever. That's one way to do it. Otherwise, it would need to find the widget in memory and then be able to call into it. But you can iterate your sidebars. You can get the active sidebar, so that would be hard. How is it doing it? I think it's maybe fully fumbled it. I can't scroll at the moment. There we go. Oh yeah, Python auto reload plugin could be nice actually. That'd actually be pretty nice. Yeah. Have you though? I don't trust this. I don't trust that at all. Let's give it that same prompt in a fresh chat. Get the structured types from the global variable into the sidebar widget, please. All right. Looks like it's doing a bit better this time. Add to list. Now how is it actually adding it to the list? Manually refreshing? Why not? I'd kind of rather not lose where we are in case it's going off the rails. Copy that again. All right. We don't need the copyright text every time. Restart and reopen. And select the variable. Yeah. What does the function have? Symbol? IL function. Okay. ILvar.function gives you the IL variable. Makes sort of sense. Even though there is also that IL function field. That was line 225. So we can do function dot source function dot name. There we go. And now we have that refresh. We should probably remove the instance number from there too. If we select the variable, we get some errors. Has no get widgets. Okay, so it is doing what I was describing. Widgets. Yeah, there we go. So we cycle through all the widgets. All right, let's see how to do this. from binary. So in the console here, we do a from binary ninja, if I can, binary ninja import star. We need to do binary ninja UI because that doesn't get done for you by default. Now we can do sidebar dot and get. Yeah, get is not a thing. Current data. Children. Local sidebar. It's probably in the children. So oh, it takes self. Ah, right, okay. I was a little skeptical about that. We can get, how do we get the UI? Well, now let's start digging. We can't just say that. Do we have a get widget somewhere? No. We have get sidebar, and we have the context, so we should be able to get the widget from the context. But that's right-clicking in the main view. So we're going to need to traverse from the main view to the parent to the sidebar somehow, or there's probably, almost certainly, a global, like sidebars thing we can query somewhere. If anyone knows how to do that, that would be helpful. I'm drawing a blank on that one. Have I done that? We've got the sidebar widget. We've got widget location. We've got the widget type. Create widget. What calls create widget? Who calls create widget? I guess the other way would be, still want that, please. Widget type, this is the sidebar widget and header. Create widget, create invalid widget, remove. Widget with title. Will that give it to me? That's a sidebar widget and header object. I don't want that one. If I did takes a binary view, maybe. Not even close. Okay. I think that's barking up the wrong tree there. Sidebar container. Sidebar container activate. Then we can grab the calls create widget, and where does it put that? Oh, you know, that's how we're going to do it. Figured it out, team. Sweet. And we just need to make sure now that that is open. Or that that's not none when we call refresh. Where's that refresh? It is, well, yay. Sweet. Now we can restart and fix some bugs. Now, calculate structured type. Yeah. Oh, because, no. Yes. And yes. Okay, now we want the names of those instead of the enum fields, which will be stir. Oh, and you know, it would be cooler if it did this as we clicked to update, but maybe not tonight. One of the ideas for the stream is to maybe work on a plugin over a couple different streams to keep it, you know, just have something longer to be working on, but we'll see if we do this. I have lots of other ideas. I want to bring some other people on to interview them, stuff like that. But we go over here, we grab our create structured type for that variable. There we go. Ah, that's beautiful. We've got add address, compare, cool. And now we can do it for a different variable. And now we can go to a different function. Are there any real functions in here besides main? There are not. This is really cool. All right, I'm actually really happy with this. Perhaps one of the more chaotic coding sessions I've had in a while, but it works in the end. That's all that matters. Let's open up a slightly more interesting binary. Let me think. And this is without any propagation yet either. Let me just pull this off screen. I already have this up. I want to do tiny store. All right, so we have these two variables here, which it's like the head of the oh yeah, it is the head versus the current element of a linked list. Yeah, so oh, funny. So yeah, we can even compare types across binaries now if we want. Unintended side effect of how we wrote that code. Let's calculate the structured type for that and that. Not sure that one's stuck. Not seeing errors. Oh, is that? Oh, interesting. Okay, so currently, for some reason, how we have it written, we need to be on a use of the variable, not the definition of the variable. That's fine, though. But let's compare our, we should call them semantic types of the head and, really? I wasn't expecting it to be literally exactly the same. Especially considering the fact that that particular variable is not used in many cases. So let's just restart. It may have gotten confused. Okay, there's a different bug in our code, almost certainly. If we look at var10, can we find, no, we want to look at var2. Yeah, var2 is not used in an add. And now if I do a different variable, does it give me the exact same results? Right, we can't do the definition site, we have to do a use site. It does, which means that reads as a bad recursion something something to me. Should be none of these. Shouldn't even be that. Traverser, instruction, var to match. Traverse, instruction, var to match, operation. Well. Alright, let's see what's going on. Calculate structured type for var 10. Calculate, well, okay. So it is currently giving me the operations that any variable object is used in. We don't need to use a match for this at this point. We could make it a lot more simple, or a bit more simple. What was it just suggesting I do? Like, kind of, yeah. I have noticed that the autocomplete has gotten a lot better recently. I found that surprising, but calculate structured types. That looks better to me. See, the match syntax is really weird because you can do just like slightly wrong things and then it'll just let you match everything, which I don't understand why. But hopefully somebody else does. Now that looks better to me, and now if we look at those two, we can see that they should be two different semantic types. Call and an init, a assign, an add, and a call. Interesting. All right. Well, an add, yeah. It would be nice to be able to be like, I'm an add, but I'm also an add inside of a dereference. Because we know that's going to be a structure member there. So we could do a number of layers to our structured types. But I think where we've left off is a pretty good starting point to pick up another time, or for one of you guys to pick it up. So let me check our schedule. What's up next? Are there any questions? I realize this isn't a class where I usually ask for questions, but anyone have any questions? If not, I have the question of the week, question of the day. Close this out. I'll drop this in public Slack somewhere. Is there a stream channel in public Slack? If there's a stream channel in public Slack, I'll put it there. Otherwise, I might just put it in the main channel for you guys who might want the script as it is hacked together. Yes, the question of the day. So, we got a question last night, which I've been hearing a lot that I wanted to cover for you guys, maybe cut into a short. And that question is, how do I use my Mac in Tahoe? I currently have a dedicated desktop for Finder windows I cannot close in Tahoe. But that's beside the point. We need Binary Ninja. We need to open Sidekick over here. And here's my Sidekick. And I can ask it, what are all the functions that var 10 or rax2 get passed to? Right? So this is a pretty basic plain text question, and traditionally an LLM would probably just scan all the lines, check what, do token matching effectively. But with Sidekick, we have the Binary Ninja query language, which is much, much, much more powerful. It can do it, I guess, as a sequence of queries, actually, because it's smart enough to be able to do that. And then if I asked it to, I could say, could you please turn this into an index for me? But I think I can make my own. So this is the Binary Ninja query language. There are docs for this on Sidekick. Sidekick.binary.ninja. Go not to the blog, but to the docs, please. And there is a BNQL section in here for you. Searching binaries with BNQL. This can do truly an incredible number of things. This is really, really cool. Which is why you might want to write it yourself and make your own all sorts of queries, data flow queries, all these different relationships in here. I've got a ton of examples. But where do you actually use them? Well, of course, you can ask Sidekick to write them for you or create them for you. But we can also make them ourselves. So if you go into your indexes here, we can, I think we need to create a new index first, then we'll add a query. You'll see I already had one in here I was working with before, but I'll do the one that it wrote, run that, and then it'll populate for me. So that is the result of the BNQL query, a little more directly. And that's how you can write your own BNQL queries and run them without having to ask the assistant. But without, I guess that's that. So, do we have anything else on the schedule? Not really. Thank you guys for sticking around. This was a bit of chaotic stream, but we'll get our stuff together the next coming weeks. We have the Binary Ninja feature stream for 5.2 on October 3rd. Come back for that. It'll be me and Jordan again. Hopefully we'll bring in some of my coworkers maybe to also talk about their features that they're working on. But it was fun writing this code with you guys. Look for it in public Slack. Ping me if you don't see it. I'll send it your way. But thank you guys for sticking around. And I think I can run the outro. See you guys. Have a good night.